Welcome to Radical Underdogs. Here are 3 mistakes I've made since I started racing 4 years ago. Number 1, I bought the wrong car. Typically at the lower level of club racing, you're racing converted road cars, and you can either buy a road car and convert it, or you can buy a proven race car. I did neither. I bought a track day car from eBay which said it met the spec of the championship I was aiming for, but it hadn't raced in it. Obviously I couldn't road test it, but it started up and it drove fine. It was also half the price of a proven race car. But it was the wrong call. Here's a list of everything I had to replace or strip out to get it race ready. The engine, the gearbox, the fuel tank, the differential, the coilovers, the brakes, the suspension bushings, the exhaust, and it was also way overweight, so I had to strip loads of unnecessary things out. The worst bit was that the roll cage mounting points weren't properly welded in, and they could have failed in an accident. So I've basically replaced everything as you would, as if you were starting from scratch. Number 2, all the gear, no idea. Let's start with all the gear. There's so much variation in motorsport, from people like me to Formula 1. Like in other sports, things which seem necessary at higher levels just aren't needed lower down. Even in my championship, there are teams with 8, 10, 12 cars and paying customers who expect excellent technical, mechanical and race support. I saw the stuff they bring to the paddock and I thought, to do better, I need to be more like them. In itself, that's not a bad thought, but I wasn't realistic about the mechanical work I would actually attempt at the racetrack. Teams can change engines or gearboxes between races, and they've got paying customers to look after. I don't, and realistically, if I blow up an engine, I'm going home, or I'm paying one of those teams to help me out at the track. Here are some things I've carted around with me to racetracks that I just haven't really needed. Generators, air compressors, stoves and T-sets, extra large awnings with weights to hold them down, tools I'm never going to use at the track, and spares I'm never going to fit at the track. If it can't be fixed with some basic mechanical know-how, a hammer, duct tape, or cable ties, in reality, we've just left it for after the race weekend. When the big failures have happened, I've either driven through it, like the blown head gasket at Silverstone, or I've asked the team to take on the job, like the broken gearbox, also at Silverstone, but the year before. Number 3, let's go on to no idea. There's loads of knowledge out there in the paddock, but it took me ages just to work out what was essential and what's just conjecture, or something that's just for the bigger teams. The best time spent has been with people in a similar position to me, but just better at it. Also remember that racing is as much about mechanicking as it is about driving. I'm self-taught and an amateur on both, so I'm pretty happy with our mid-pack position. But to get to the top, you need to be working on or paying for both. What was really helpful was establishing a routine and what elements to check after each session. I now have given the power of the clipboard to the team. It'll be different for each series, but for Mazdas, I'm doing checks on most of the suspension bolts after each session, as they get a real hammering, and unfilling and refilling with fuel to make sure we have just the right amount for the next session. Let me know what mistakes you've made in the comments. And to see more like this, please like, share and subscribe.